Hello students. In this video lecture I am coming with the topic biosafety and bioethics. First we can understand what is biosafety. The biosafety is defined as prevention of large scale loss of biological integrity with focus both on ecology and human health. It is a system of handling of toxic and dangerous biological and chemical substances. We understand the components of safety. It includes safe handling, storage and disposal of specimens, chemicals, instruments, radioactive compounds, fire and electrical materials under the safety. The disaster management for natural calamities like earthquakes and hurricanes also consider the components of safety. We just understand some technical terms before we deal with the biosafety. First one is biohazard. Biohazard is an agent of biological origin that has the capacity to produce deleterious effect on human. That may be microorganisms and or toxins released by the microorganisms, the allergens developed from them, or toxins and or all allergens developed from the higher plants and animals. These are all biohazardous components or biohazardous agents. Next term is biosafety. Biosafety is the containment, inhibitory principles, technologies and practices that are implemented to prevent unintentional exposure to pathogens and toxins and their accidental release to the environment. And the third term which is commonly used in this lecture is biosecurity. This means the control of accidental or deliberate release of biohazardous materials. So first we understand what is containments, what are the inhibitions we have to follow for biosafety measures. The term containment is used to describe the safe method of managing infectious agent in the laboratory environment where they are being handled and maintained. When the microorganisms are handled under the laboratory conditions, they are safe for use, safe for handling and with due inhibitions that are used. Again, to reduce the exposure of laboratory workers and other persons to hazardous environment. These are two containments, these are two precautions, these are two things which are considered under biosafety measures. So the elements of containments are laboratory practice and technique, the method, the protocol and the technique and the instruments which are used under laboratory conditions. Next one is safety equipments, which are primary barriers, and design facilities that are secondary barriers. These three elements are under prohibition or containment or inhibition, which are generally checked for biosafety measures. So coming to the types of containments, there are two types of containment, physical containment and biological containments. Physical containments includes methods adapted in the laboratory for preventing the escape of genetically engineered microorganisms to the environment. For example, air filters, sterilization lights, waste disposal and protective handling. These are the physical containments where we have to look after what kind of air filters are fitted in the laboratory, what type of sterilization lights and intensity of light we are using during the experimentation, the waste material, in which way those materials are get disposed, and what kind of protective measures we follow during the handling of experiment or mostly genetically engineered microorganisms. So this includes the physical containments. Next one is biological containments. Biological containments includes biological principles used to prevent to escape the genetically engineered microorganisms and routine microorganisms. These are the conditions to make the organism unable to survive outer environment. Mostly in this practice, the organisms are controlled in such a way that it is not able to survive outside the environment. It can only grow inside the laboratory conditions or controlled environmental conditions. So conditions are arranged in such a way that these containments are maintained under biological units. Some unfortunate examples for this: we lost the biosafety measures and major outbreak of typhoid fever occurred in 1950. Later on, 2003 to 2014, large outbreaks of SARS, Ebola, dengue was observed. In 1980, large outbreaks of hepatitis and tuberculosis were observed, and during these days, from 2019, in present situation, we are observing the corona pandemic throughout the world. So these are some unfortunate examples where the biosafety measures are not performed, not followed, and major outbreaks, major problems occurred. So why we need biosafety? What is the need of this kind of biosafety to be measured, to be followed? First one is to support the medical and scientific research on microbes and the human immune response to them. Second need is to apply such research to the discovery and development of vaccines, drugs, and diagnostic tests to design to protect general population. And the next need is to ensure that every has sufficient research facilities to carry out these activities. For this need, we have to follow some guidelines, some rules which are measured for biosafety. So coming to the scope of biosafety, what are the fields, research fields or academic fields where the biosafety measures are important and need to be followed? Study of ecology, study of medicine, chemical research or chemistry, agricultural science where the plants are observed under the study, and exobiology when the microorganisms or living materials are studied in the space. For providing advanced laboratory design, risk assessment of experiment involving infectious agent, and in vivo and in vitro RNA studies in all conditions. The in vitro studies deals with the DNA or RNA or some kind of microorganism. They also need to practice some biosafety measures. So coming to the biosafety issues, it includes biosafety of laboratory or safety of laboratory, safety of bloodborne pathogens, that is called as BBP, then safety for recombinant DNA and production of genetically modified food and organisms, safety for biological waste disposal, and shipping of infectious substances and diagnostic specimens. All these activities are come under the biosafety issue. All these activities are strictly followed and strictly observed for the biosafety measures. What are the risk areas for biosafety measures as to be strictly followed? Risk for health. This includes toxicity, allergies, pathogen drug resistance activities. Whether the pathogen is having any kind of toxicity for human health, it causes allergy responses, or it converts into drug resistance. Then risk for environment. This is persistency of transgenic elements and products, susceptibility to non-target organism, and unpredicted expression under the given environmental condition. Risk in agriculture, development of resistant and tolerance of target organisms, production of weed and superweed, and alteration of nutritional values. Next area is risk interaction with non-target organisms. This includes genetic pollution, horizontal gene transfer, and generation of new line viruses. And general concerns includes high cost requirement, loss of familiarities, and including the ethical issues. So these are the area where the biosafety has to be measured and followed. This picture explains what are the sources of biosafety: various specimens, human blood, unfixed tissues, and human cell lines. This may observe for biosafety measures. Where it should be observed? These are observed under labs, personal and community level. These hazardous materials may cause lab hazards, personal hazards or community level hazards. The sources may be fungi, bacteria, viruses, parasites, prions and recombinant DNA. Coming to the risk groups. The risk groups are divided into 4 types. First one is risk group 1, where the agents not associated with disease in healthy humans. These are the first level of risk. Second, risk group 2, where the agents associated with rare human diseases. Third, risk group 3, where the agents associated with serious and lethal human diseases. And last is very dangerous, risk group 4, where the agents are associated with serious and lethal human diseases for which preventive measures are not available. So for all these 4 risk groups, we are 4 biosafety levels. So coming to the details of biosafety levels, biosafety levels refers to the classification system used to indicate the safety precautions required for known to be dangerous or lethal experiments. It is a level of biocontainment precautions required to undertake while handling hazardous biological agents in an enclosed facility through a combination of safeguards. These safeguards including engineering control, management policies and standard work practices. So there are 4 biosafety levels. Level 1 includes work with least dangerous agents and require fierce precautions. In most of the colleges and academic institutions, biosafety levels is followed. Biosafety level 1 is followed. Second is biosafety level 2, BSL2, where the agents associated with human diseases. So some strict measures are to be followed. Third one is biosafety level 3. In those laboratories where agents causing serious disease transmitted by inhalation for which immunization and antibiotic treatment is available. So this kind of things are must available in this kind of laboratory where biosafety level 3 work is going on. The treatment of antibiotic treatment and immunization treatment must be available with this laboratory. And the biosafety level 4, in those laboratory when agents causing serious diseases for which known treatment and immunization is not available, so very strict measures are to be taken to handle this kind of agents causing serious damage. There are 2 barriers in which biosafety levels can be followed. Primary barrier, this includes physical barriers like personal protective equipments and breathing apparatus. And the secondary barriers include safe laboratory structural aspects, sinks for hand wash, air exhaust, sterilization equipment, staff immunization with some infectious diseases like tuberculosis, rubella, typhoid, anthrax, poliomyelitis and diphtheria. This picture is showing biosafety level 2, simple desk, and the person is working under this condition. Biosafety level 2, where the HEPA is included in the experimentation room and with clean airflow inside. This picture explaining biosafety level 3 with some precautions including HEPA, air filter and facial cover to the working person. And last one is biosafety level 4, where HEPA with exhaust facility, airflow, the experimenting person, the researcher and the person which is doing experiment is completely covered with safety measures. This is biosafety cabinet. This biosafety cabinets is also included with biosafety level 1, 2 or 3 and 4 type of support, and the main purpose of this biosafety cabinet is to protect the person which is doing the experiment and the environment from exposure of biohazards like material. This is comparison with risk group 1 agent and biosafety level 1 practice. When labs working with E. coli transgenic plant, plasmids, fungi, and yeast. These components come under risk group 1 agent, and the laboratory for this is required for biosafety level 1. Benchtop work, daily contamination, manual pipetting, proper hand washing, red bag waste, safety glasses, gloves, lab coats, standard microbiological practices. Most of the laboratories for academic work and some research activity are under this biosafety level 1 practice. Coming to the second risk group 2 agents, including human and primate cells working on this, working on viruses of herpes, then attenuated human immunodeficiency virus, hepatitis B virus, working on salmonella and clostridium like bacterium, and patient specimens like blood, body fluids, and infectious tissues. So the experiments and the laboratories doing on this kind of experiments needs biosafety level 2 type of laboratory, and the practices: limited access to the lab, daily contamination, decontamination, mechanical pipetting, red bag waste, safety gloves, glasses, and lab coats. For risk group 3 agents, including human immunodeficiency viruses, Mycobacterium tuberculosis, and Klebsiella brucei, this kind of agents require biosafety level 3 practices. In this lab, no public access is provided. Daily decontamination is compulsory. Food activated hand washing sinks are there, and no sharp containers are used in these labs. For risk group 4 agents, which are highly contagious, like viruses, Ebola, herpes, Lassa fever, and including coronavirus. For this kind of agents, biosafety level 4 laboratories are required, with all facilities of biosafety level 3, including maximum containment facilities, chemical decontamination showers, class 3 biosafety cabinets, liquid waste collection, and decontamination. These biosafety guidelines required some aim: the regulation of rDNA research with organisms that have no or limited adverse effect. Aiming this, the biosafety guidelines are regulated to minimize the possibilities of occasional release of genetically engineered organisms from the laboratory, and for the banning of release of genetically engineered organisms if they are supposed to be causing potential risk in the environment. For this kind of activities, some biosafety guidelines are designed. These biosafety guidelines concerning to the recombinant DNA technology related to the India is like this: the policy proposed or adopted by the government to avoid the risk of genetically engineered microorganisms on environment and public health. The recombinant DNA safety guidelines proposed by DBT in 1983, which were amended in 1990. The guideline deals with a set of rules for hazardous organisms, including production of this kind of hazardous organisms, uses of this kind of hazardous organism, its import or export to any area, and its storage. So when working with hazardous organisms, when any lab is working on hazardous organisms or organism with potential risk, so it is come under some guidelines, some rules and regulations for production of such kind of organism, for use, export, import, and storage of such kind of organism in the laboratory conditions. So some committees are formulated for this kind of rDNA guidelines and implementation in India. First one is Institutional Biosafety Committee, that is IBSC, that controls research activities at institutional level only. Then second one is Review Committee on Genetic Manipulation, RCGM, that reviews for situation for research on hazardous organisms, that decides whether the institute or the laboratory is capable to do this kind of research and grants permission to work and provide advice on IPR and patents. Mostly the intellectual property rights are maintained and the patents are come out. So this committee decides where the lab is suitable for do this kind of research working on hazardous organisms. Third committee is Genetic Engineering Approval Committee, that is called as GEAC. This committee approved the genetically engineered organism for large scale production and use. This committee mostly meant for the industrial application of genetically manipulated organism, whether this kind of organisms are used for production of large scale component or product. These are some activities needed to acquire permission and approval. When we are in search of this kind of activities, or we are thinking to do this kind of research in our laboratory or this kind of work in our laboratory, we need to acquire permission and approval with some committees. When we are thinking to do toxin gene cloning and transfer in plants, we are thinking cloning of genes for vaccine production, then cloning of antibiotic resistant genes, the cloning of oncogenes, experiment with infectious animals, experiment with plant viruses, transgenic experiments with animal cell cultures, and gene therapy with hereditary diseases. When we are thinking to do this kind of research, any one of these, we need to acquire some permission and approval before going to the start the experiment. So now coming to the second part, when we deals with the biosafety rules, we have to follow some ethical issues. What is deals with ethics and morals? The study of ethical and moral effects of new biological discoveries and biomedical advancement. The term bioethic was first introduced by V. Van Rensselaer Potter in 70s for protection of biosphere. It was later used to refer the study of ethical issues arising from healthcare, biological and medical sciences. The ethical and moral combination with all these, it is concerned with right or wrong conduct. What is right and what is wrong under the conduct. When we are dealing with any microorganism or any study under the ethical rules, where it is right or it is wrong. Second one is the guide to the behavior and making choice or judgment. To guide our behavior, which kind of behavior should be there and whether it is right or wrong or making a choice or judgment. So morals are individual framework for decision making and ethics are generalized capture framework for decision making. Moral consideration in ethics, whether one ought to act to maximize the best outcome. Are we required only not to harm others, or must we also act in ways that benefits them to make their lives better? We must think upon it. What should be done when we think policies or laws are unethical? How could we access that all peoples have a fair or maybe an equal opportunity? And how and when should we share information about a medical treatment to the best permit others? We must consider all these things before the experiment to start under the moral considerations. So coming to the bioethics, what is bioethics? It concerns itself with issues in healthcare, medicine, research, biotechnology and environment. When we are doing with the experiment under healthcare, under medicine experimentation, biotechnology and environmental issues, we are concerned with the biosafety and bioethical measures. Professionals working in the field of bioethics include philosophers, scientists, health administrators, lawyers, anthropologists, and social workers. Each field contribute important insight, resources, methodologies, and efforts to think about or to make change to practice and policies that raise ethical concerns. Coming to the part bioethics and biotechnology. With advent with the biotechnological activities, these are essential to think upon ethical issues. When we are manipulating with microorganisms, we are producing transgenic organisms, we are inserting the genes in transgenic forms, we are fabricating new kinds of genes. So we have to deal with ethical issues. We have to think before we do this kind of manipulations. So bioethics also need to address emerging biotechnologies that affect basic biology and future humans, because biotechnology also want to alter the basic biology. This development includes gene cloning, gene therapy, human genetic engineering, and manipulation of basic animal and plant biology through altered DNA, altered RNA, and alterations in the protein characters and structures. However, the use of this technology has raised some concern, which includes their ecological impact, their potential harm to human health, their negative impact due to the development of resistance, and their contribution to corporate monopoly. So, there is need to address life through ethical point of view. Coming to the principles of bioethics, what are the principles? First one is autonomy. Autonomy gives right of self-determination and the ability to take decision independently where the bioethical concerns. Beneficence or kindness, to do well, to promote well-being and work for benefit of others. Non-maleficence, to do no harm, to avoid doing harm. Justice, treat everyone alike and consider the equity. And one more, openness, not to keep the information secret. So these are the principles dealing with bioethics. We have to have autonomy, we follow the beneficence, we follow non-malicious, we follow the justice, and we follow the openness when dealing with bioethical issues. Coming to the scope of bioethics. These are the scopes like human genome projects, stem cell research, artificial reproductive technologies, pre-implementation diagnosis, the synthesis of new life forms, and the possibilities of successful reproductive clonings. So these are the areas where bioethic concerns are very important. This slide dealing with the major issues of bioethics. First one is eugenics, where DNA manipulation for improvement of human races. This includes advancement of species and extinction of certain genetic diseases leading to the discrimination of races and possibilities of eradication of race. Second one is human cloning, scientific production of identical human cells, issues and entire body. Sorry. Development of regenerative medicines, tissues and organ donation. This leads to human framing, killing the clones for body parts. Third one is stem cell research. Differentiation of stem cells into range of specialized cell types. This includes potential for disease curing, leading to the destruction of life. Euthanasia, purposeful ending of life as a relief of unnecessary suffering, leading to the end of blessed life. Thank you very much.